Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. This is, well, the next edition of When Snow's Coming of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and InForum.com on a, well, at least nice start to this Tuesday. There's more to come. It's right around the bend from what we're being told, so better buckle up, everybody, to our south. From the west to the east, certainly down by the Twin Cities, which is going to have some reverberation up here for everything that we are following over the next couple days. Good morning and welcome to our show. I am not going to double as a meteorologist. I will just simply tell you that we will update you as best we can on what is going on with the weather and how it's going to affect games in our area, because it already has to some extent, which we'll show you here in a second. There's a couple things I can tell you right off that we know as of 9:02 this morning. The Minnesota State High School League has said that nothing is going to be postponed on the state side of things, meaning the state gymnastics meet and the state girls hockey tournament are moving forward. That doesn't matter what kind of snow is hitting, and this is, by the way, we're being told historic snow for the Twin Cities. That is not going to affect those tournaments happening. So that's the latest there. We have not heard anything from the Summit League on basketball, which is important for two reasons. Because the North Dakota State men's and women's teams are facing St. Thomas on Thursday night, of course, located in St. Paul, with the Tommy men set to come here Thursday night and the Bison women heading to St. Paul on Thursday evening as well. I would expect, after seeing our esteemed colleague John Wheeler's forecast on the 10 o'clock news last night, I gave it a 0.004% chance of these games happening on Tuesday. We haven't got anything official. I would expect we're going to hear something today. I don't think that they can move forward with this. Here's the rub, is that we're running out of time. What I was told Sunday when I asked about this is the league does not want to play on Sunday, knowing that the tournament begins on Friday. It's a tough turnaround. I get it. But we're between a rock and a hard place of trying to get these games in. We know one thing. They're not playing tonight. So now the earliest they can play is Wednesday. And if that happens, we got to get people moving in the not-too-distant future. So we are waiting. I've checked in on that, and if anything happens between now and 11 o'clock, we will certainly pass it along. But that's the two biggies to know right now. There have been a few region tournaments affected, including here in Region 1 yesterday, where only 3 of the 4 games could be played. Tri-State couldn't even get here because of the weather being so bad in the southern portion of the state. So their game with Kindred did not happen. That got postponed that till today because of the weather that was going on yesterday, and it was nasty in certain parts of the state, no doubt. So they only played 3 of the 4 games at the Region 1 tournament yesterday. Central Cass, Sargent County, and Northern Cass won their games. So the Kindred Tri-State game has yet to happen, and then they're going to play the other games of this tournament. So how it's going to work, Kindred and Tri-State are going to play tonight at 6 at the Shack. That'll be followed by the first semifinal between Central Cass and Sargent County. And then the second semifinal will be played on Wednesday morning between Northern Cass and the winner of the Kindred Tri-State game. Again, remember, the region championship is already scheduled for Friday because of the Bison basketball game supposedly happening on Thursday night. And we did this same dance last year, folks. The same exact week, we had chaos with the region tournaments. We had finally completed the EDC hockey tournament on President's Day Monday. You heard Nate Metcalf talking about that yesterday. So the same exact week, we're having winter chaos here again. Now we can bring that graphic back up again. So Region 3 only played 2 games yesterday. The first 2, Kidder County with a win over Oaks, and Linton HMB beat LLM. The other games between Edgeley, Cullen, Montpelier, and Medina, Pingree, Buchanan, and Napoleon, Gackle, Streeter, and Carrington, all those games at the Jamestown Civic Center, were postponed to today. So the plan is to play the last 2 quarterfinals early today. This is different. And then the winners of those games to come back and play at 7:30 tonight. Not ideal, but that's what they're going to do. So games at the Jamestown Civic today at 12, 1:30, 6, and 7:30. Those are the games that have been affected on the region tournament. Email comes in. I'd like to know who came up with the idea to postpone the final 2 games of the region tournament. I get the weather impacts on the situation, but they just gave the winner of the Kidder County Linton HMB semifinal a day off, while the winners of the other half of the bracket have to go 3 straight days. It would have been better to postpone the whole tournament a day, just like they did last year. I won't argue with that, knowing that this mess was potentially coming. Weather forecasting is as good as it's ever been. People can lament that, but it is. That we know way out in advance on some of this stuff. You can be upset about it. I would say some foresight would have been good here, especially to start it, then to stop it. Not great. And this is something we're going to hit head on next year with we're adding more tournaments. Those state qualifier games to be played in neutral sites. You're going to have teams trying to get to different locations. It could be a real bugaboo if we have weather like this. So that's on the basketball side of things. Let's keep that graphic up, guys, if we could. So next is the Summit League Track Championships. The indoor championships are set to be run this weekend. That's already been moved. It was set to go Friday and Saturday in Vermilion. Again, now this is everybody. So this is Oral Roberts, from Tulsa to Macomb to St. Paul to obviously the Dakotas. They have already moved that to Saturday, Sunday. And added in, league officials will continue to monitor the weather and its potential impact on the event. So again, that has already been affected, and potential that could be moved once again. You see on there for the Minnesota State High School League that they have announced there are going to be no postponements for the state tournaments. So what I'm saying there is for state girls hockey and for the state gymnastics tournament. The league statement: the girls hockey and gymnastics state tournaments for this week are expected to take place as scheduled. Teams are being encouraged to watch the weather and make travel plans accordingly. We look forward to hosting 2 great tournaments. This is from the Associate Director of the Minnesota State High School League, Laura McInthune. Schools have been concerned about this and are making travel plans to account for the snow. We're fortunate that the National Weather Service and other organizations have given us the information a few days out to prepare. We're expecting the tournaments to take place as expected. I contacted Moorhead Athletic Director Dean Haugo before our show this morning. The girls hockey team is set to leave at 2 o'clock today from Moorhead to get down to St. Paul. Now, remind you, the Spuds aren't playing till Thursday night, but the intensity of this is supposed to crank up Wednesday night into Thursday. So for the teams, the State A tournament begins tomorrow. So for teams like Fergus Falls and Warroad, for them to They may have left yesterday, I'd imagine so, to make sure that they get down there and play this. There's one thing that we learned throughout COVID was that there are going to be perhaps things come up, but things move forward, especially on the North Dakota side of things. Nothing stopped those state tournaments from happening. And if we learn anything from Mother Nature from November, when it landed right during Dakota Bowl week, heck, the Wednesday, Thursday, and part of the Friday of Dakota Bowl week, is that those teams were coming no matter what. New Salem, remember, left on a Tuesday. A few other teams that left and stayed in Fargo for a couple of days to make sure that the state tournaments were happening. Now, on the hockey side of things, on the North Dakota state tournament, nothing has been said there. Everything's a go. Whether that means teams are leaving early, that'll be something we'll be checking into today, especially knowing that the weather on Thursday is not going to be great. Now, as Wheel said, from Fargo north, it shouldn't be that bad at all, but it's just getting there that could be the tricky part. As you saw, there's a couple of nasty accidents on 29 with the whiteout conditions. So for those trying to get there, Wednesday may be your best option. Tomorrow, and then hunker down for what's to come. I know what's being discussed with our crew as well, of leaving potentially on Wednesday just to make sure everybody's up there and ready to go. So there's your weather update on how it's affecting games in our area. And again, if anything happens between now and 11 o'clock, we'll update you there. It's very fluid with certain things. Certainly those basketball games I'm keeping an eye on. And anything else on the region side of things, we will certainly update you between now and 11 o'clock. Now, with that said, with all the crap weather there, I present this video yesterday that came into our office, and I think people should enjoy this. And for those listening on the podcast, you'll have to just use your imagination. Kyle, go ahead and play it, because I think this is all you need to see. You got beautiful sunny skies, palm trees, and the Minnesota Twins on their first full day of spring training. The whole team reported yesterday, and the first full practice went on in Fort Myers. Carlos Correa there. Byron Buxton out running around. This is what we need. This is what we need when it's -7 outside, is to see these kind of shots of video from Fort Myers yesterday, with the Twins set to play their first game coming up in just a couple days. There's Kenta Maeda. I think people forget him. Of course, he missed all of last season after Tommy John surgery, that he's back with his team. Joe Ryan was out throwing. So that's the pick-me-up we need here on a Tuesday morning. I know the sun's out outside, but you step out and it's like a punch in the face. So we've got this. Now, I am not going to say anything nice about those jerseys or the hats. Everything about that is ugly. And this is, of course, going to be a topic as we get into the season of the uniform changes. But be that as it may, I wanted to make sure we uplifted people and gave them some good stuff to look at here. There's our guy, Sonny Gray, back for his second season with the team. So there you have it. That's some good vibes for us here on a Tuesday. Spring training is underway with sunny skies and warm weather. Heck, it's supposed to be like 85. Dad was telling me as he's leaving today to head back to New York. 85 and sunny, like record-setting temperatures down in that part of the country. So it is wild wherever you go right now. So there you have it, folks. Some spring training video with the games right around the corner in Florida. We got a packed show coming up for you here on this Tuesday morning. Our usual cavalcade of guests will join us here. Mike McFeely will be by at 9:35. We'll chat with Michael as we're into the final week of the Summit League basketball season. Lots to be excited about there, and still plenty on the line. The 1 seeds have been determined on both sides. After that, there is chaos. We'll discuss that coming up at 9:35. Kyle May will be by at 10 o'clock. We're going to give some XFL action there. We'll talk to him about the rule changes there. I'm interested to see what he thinks of that. And a few other items we'll chat with Kyle at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, we'll welcome back to our show Kenmare-Bowbells girls basketball head coach Mike Zimmer will join us. The Honkers off to another great season, hoping to make it back to state for a third consecutive year out of Region 8. They are one of the favorites to potentially win this whole thing. They've had a great season. They've played some tough competition and dealt with some injuries as well. Mike will join us coming up at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more coming up here on our Tuesday morning show. We'll take a break. We're off and rolling here on this snowy, cold, calm before the storm edition of Hot Mike. We're back after this on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. All right, welcome back, everybody. Tuesday morning edition, Hot Mike, WDAY Extra, InForum.com. Well, how about this? We talk about it, we get an answer. This is from the North Dakota High School Activities Association regarding Region 3. The two remaining quarterfinal games at the Region 3 tournament we played at noon and 1:30 today. The rest of the tournament schedule is to be determined. So that's smart. We don't want anybody playing twice in one day. So that's where they're at in Region 3. So there's two games going on today at noon and 1:30 in Region 3. So that's Edgeley-Cullman-Montpelier against Medina, Pingree, Buchanan, and then Napoleon, Gackel, Streeter, and Carrington coming up. And then after that, they're going to figure things out here, understanding that they're going to have to be some wiggle room here, knowing, especially on the southern part of the state, that that's where the snow totals are expected to be the highest. So that's your update from the southern part of things, at least with Region 3. Everybody else played last night. Region 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 got all their games completed. So we are somewhat into the second day with Region 1 and Region 3 still holding things up here. 2 also played all of its games up in Grand Forks, and that's interesting considering the weather up there was not great yesterday, but all 4 teams that advanced on. Thompson, Hatton, Northwood, Grafton, and Mayport CG advanced into the semifinals, which will be played today up at the Betty. So that's a quick update there. We appreciate people watching and giving us the update on things going on out in Region 3 by Jamestown. Also, as we know, the boys hockey tournament is set to begin coming up on Thursday, at least for now. I had a couple people ask me this, so I want to give it to everyone again, just of our broadcast schedule, and also chat about girls hockey here for a second. The boys tournament will begin on Thursday. The games will all be on WDAY Extra beginning at noon with the first quarterfinal, followed by about 2:30 for Game 2. The evening session begins at 5:30 and then wraps up at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. Friday, the consolation semifinals, you'll be able to stream those on WDAY Sports Plus at InForum.com. Just find the WDAY Sports Plus tab, and you'll be able to stream the games there, beginning at noon and 2:15. Again, you have to buy those. You have to pay for them. I'm just going to tell you now. So if you want to get upset, go for it. But that's been our model for 10 years, us doing this, all right? Then the semifinals will be 5:30 on WDAY Friday night, followed by the second semifinal at 8 o'clock. And then, again, since it's just the boys part of this, the bracket will wrap up with the 5th and 3rd place games beginning at 1:15 and 3:30. Those games will also stream at InForum.com. And then we'll hit the air at 6:30 for the championship game on WDAY on Saturday night to wrap up the boys hockey season in North Dakota. The bracket as such, as we discussed yesterday when we had Nate Metcalf on from Davies, that Red River is the number 1 seed out of the East. They'll get Jamestown coming up in the first game. You'll see at noon. That'll be followed by Minot and Cheyenne. Cheyenne back at state for the second straight year. Century earned the number 1 seed out of the West. Legacy earned the number 1 seed out of the West. They'll take on Davies. And that'll be followed by South Shanley as the 2 seed out of the East to take on Century in the final game of the day, which will probably go about 8 o'clock, barring any overtimes, of course, coming up on Thursday. So as we mentioned yesterday, and we were talking about this, and I had a few other emails after we got done with the show about restructuring the boys state hockey tournament, maybe doing it like how the girls do, where it's just the top 8, and to prevent maybe more beatdowns. As we've seen it's been 3 straight years that the East has not lost a game in the opening round, and they are favored to win all the games likely again on Thursday, which is a reversal, frankly, of trends that have started about 10 years ago when we started doing the state hockey tournament, where we had 3 consecutive West teams, or excuse me, 2 consecutive West teams break through. Bismarck won the championship in 2014. Minot followed up with a championship in 2015. But at least since then, we had consistently had an East-West final. But over the last handful of years now, it has been an all-East championship. And that is, I don't know if it's as concerning as it is what you're seeing in the opening round. I wouldn't be so concerned about it had we seen more teams win on Thursday. That has not been the case. 2020, 2021, 2022, it has been all East. And frankly, most of them haven't been close. We'll see if that trend either continues or ends on Thursday, but it's for the teams that made it and facing off against the teams out west, they did not lose this year, at least during the regular season. I know that doesn't mean much when you get to postseason play, but that at least is the track record of where we're at there. So just something to keep in your back pocket for those that are watching the games coming up beginning on Thursday up at the Ralph Engelstad Arena, which hosts state for the first time since 2021. They get it back. I know they're excited about that, and we'll see with future scheduling how this is going to go, with where UND obviously is on the road this weekend, so they can afford to do this. But I know, just anecdotally being told this, that there is a great appetite to have the state hockey tournament be permanent in Fargo and at Shields Arena, just with the addition of the second rink, that there is momentum there. I don't know if it's coming from the state level or from the coaches. I know for the players, they love to get a chance to play at the Ralph, but it's never even full, even when it's Red River and Central facing off against one another. Whereas if you saw last year at Shields Arena for the girls' championship game, North-South played Davies that went double overtime, great environment there, and then led into the boys' game between Red River and Davies. And I think Nate Metcalf will tell you, who joined us yesterday, that was a heck of an environment there for the girls' state hockey championship game. So I would be hard-pressed to think that it wouldn't get some strong consideration, but we'll see where things go, especially how this trial runs with the boys and girls having separate weekends. Remember, that's a 2-year trial period where the girls are going to get their own state tournament weekend. That begins this year, starting next week in Minot. If they were all to come back onto the same weekend, that might lend credence to Fargo getting it permanently, because I think people really enjoy going from the Farmers Union rink back over to Shields Arena or vice versa. I think there's some real advantages to that, much like the Bismarck Event Center for the Super A. I think that lends itself to having a combined tournament like that, where you can go and walk 100 feet, if that, to the exhibit hall and then to the main arena, and can do that all day and watch whatever it is, 8 games on Thursday and Friday. I think there's a lot of advantages to that, but that's something that is in the works. I'll be interested to see how that develops here over the next few months. Next week is really interesting, and we're going to talk about it when we get there next week, about the girls' hockey tournament going on the same time as the girls' state B. And I know those are 2 completely different audiences that don't intersect, but Minot's been wanting this. They built this new arena specifically to try to get a state hockey tournament. Now they've got it. I know they're going to go all out, as well they should, and I think it should be a great event. What I am interested in, because we'll stream the games are going to be on Extra as well. next week for the quarterfinals and the semifinals. The championship will be on WDAY leading into the girls' State B championship next Saturday. But having it on 2 separate weekends, will it get the kind of attention they're hoping for? Well, I don't know. We'll see. Going up again, because that next week, just for example, before we go to break here, next week you've got the girls' State B tournament in Minot. You've also got the Class A region tournaments happening in Bismarck and in Fargo for Class A basketball. I mean, that's a heck of a lot to go up against off the top. So we'll see, but it's going to be fun to follow. One of the many new experiments coming down the road here with state high school tournaments in North Dakota, and of course, in lieu of what's coming next year with 2 more in basketball. We're due for a break. We'll take one now. Mike McFeely around the corner. I don't know if he's got something to yell about. He has the last couple weeks. He may have something this week, or we could have a nice, peaceful conversation. We'll find out when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra at InForum.com.
Very number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
You good?
Okay.
Is there a reason why I'm out of the shot?
Look at that.
Isn't that great? Old man yells.
Baseball sucks. These kids today.
Right? All right, before we even jump the gun, I got a piece of video I want to show you that just will calm everything down. Guys, can we play the video from Fort Myers? This will ease everything for you from yesterday. The Twins was their first full day of practice to get out there. There you go.
There we go. I got
there you go. Sunny skies. There's our guy Rocco. The baseball. I know what we think about how they're changing the sport, but just this alone, pretty cool. Just hey, you know what? It's around the corner. It's good stuff, right?
Yes. Yes, Dom. It is really nice to see the baseball highlights on the television screen.
Oh, gosh.
Everything is fine.
Mike McFeely joins us at his usual Tuesday, 9:30
would
a.m.
much rather be here than in Fort Myers
I know.
right now.
I appreciate you coming on the show.
My sister and brother-in-law, by the way, have a winter home about 2 miles from the ballpark in Fort Myers. Yep.
I have not been there since they've renovated the whole complex down there, which is now quite the thing.
Yes,
down in Fort Myers there.
And it was interesting. I read, once the Twin Cities writers and everybody went down there and started covering the Twins. It was their first trip down there since the hurricane. I was down there in November for a few days, just kind of visiting my sister. We went down there together, and so that was my obviously first look. That was not that long after the hurricane.
I was going to say, a month, less than that?
Something like that. And if you've been to Fort Myers and been down there, the city itself looked okay in the residential areas. Once you crossed over the bridge down to Fort Myers Beach, that was
not good.
No. And then we drove down to Naples, which is 20 miles south of Fort Myers along the Gulf Coast, and kind of not being ghouls or anything like that, but Bonita Beach we had heard was not good. And so we took a quick little drive, the 10 minutes off the US 41 over to Bonita Beach, and that was just destroyed. I mean, it was just awful. And so it's a different place. Most 97% of the city is the same as it was. It's the stuff right up against the beach that was just
not good.
Wow. That was something else.
See, when you have that and the weather we have, I think I take this night. I would take a 10 out of 10. I've never been in a hurricane. I don't think I want any part of dealing with anything associated with that.
No, and
to me, I would not.
No, and for my politics, I'm not sure Florida's what a weird place.
Different place right now. Different place.
Although
right
what's
now.
happening in Bismarck, well, let's not get into that. Sports.
Yes.
Sports.
So you
balls and bats and basketballs and pucks.
You tweeted this out yesterday on the league leaders in the Summit League, the champions of the regular season, on the Oral Roberts men. We watched the game on Saturday night. All of us were our group text of watching the Bison men.
Very exciting lives we lead.
Summit League basketball on a Saturday night, baby. Watching a live stream.
What do you do
from
on a
Tulsa.
Saturday night when you're 56 years old and your daughter's are moved out of the house because she's in college? Well, you call up the stream of the Oral Roberts NDSU basketball game and watch it.
But what do we make of we'll get to the Bison in a second. What do we make of what happened with Oral Roberts this past week? They barely beat UND, and they struggle with the Bison.
It ebbs and flows. They still have the most talented team. They probably still have the deepest team, and they still have the best scorer, and probably he'll be the player of the year at Max Asmus. You go through stretches when you depend so much on shooting threes, as they do, you're going to have ups and downs. And the fact is they still were up by double digits late in the game against North Dakota State, and they were ahead double digits most of the game against UND. Yeah. And so they struggled some, but Oral Roberts is the far and away the favorite in Sioux Falls. If they don't get things squared away shooting, and if Asmus is the only guy that can score for them, as was kind of the case against NDSU and UND, then it might get interesting with, say, South Dakota State if Oral Roberts matches up against them, especially in Sioux Falls. But Oral Roberts just has so many options. I mean, they had a kid come off the bench on Saturday against NDSU who played about 11 minutes a game.
Yeah, Mwamba
and he ended up scoring like 13 points because he hit like 3 threes. And so they just – somebody's going to get hot. If Isaac McBride all of a sudden goes on a heater and throws up 20 points, they're going to win. If Carlos Jurgens puts up 15 points, they're going to win. Yeah. If some rando guy off the bench comes in and hits 3 3-pointers, they're going to win. Or
like we saw here when Vanover is hitting his shot, the 7'5" guy. If he's doing that, they're going to win the game.
But his role is that, and Paul Mills continually goes back to this with him, is his
Vanover
job is
talking about.
Is to protect the rim, as they say. He just
not his game.
but he's a defensive presence. Yeah. Right? I mean, he's blocking shots. He is, he's never leaving the lane area on defense. He's not going to come out. And so if you're going to go to the basket, Grant Nelson was having trouble getting shots over Vanover because he's 7'5".
Right.
And so that's his main role. And if they get some points out of him, that's fine. But I think Paul Mills will be happy if he gets 3 blocks a game and changes shots, which he's been doing.
He does that. There's no doubt. On the Bison side of things, there's Grant Nelson, but I still don't. Kolbeck and I were talking about this yesterday. Who would be the defined number 2 guy? Bowden Skunberg has stepped into that. But is that where Dave Richmond wants it to go?
I don't know.
Wonder that.
Well, right now he has no choice. I don't know if that was the plan before the season, but if you look at what NDSU had coming back, maybe you thought Andrew Morgan was going to be the number 2 guy.
I don't get that.
And Andrew just has been inconsistent and just sort of in and out, kind of, and got in foul trouble here and there, and he just didn't. He was off the floor the last couple of games, even without foul trouble. So I don't know if there's just a kind of a late season swoon with Andrew. But I think the idea, as it has been the whole season, has been to run the offense through Grant Nelson and Andrew Morgan.
Right.
And then you would hope that they could, the point guard feeds the ball to Nelson or Morgan on the mid wing or in the post, and then they kick it out and they get open shots that way. Nobody else is really hitting shots consistently other than Bowden Skunberg, and he hasn't even been that consistent. There's been nobody else to step up.
Right. To Javis Miller. Nothing.
Lance Waddles.
Damari.
Jakari White. Damari Wheeler-Thomas has been okay hitting some mid-range jumpers, which has been important, but just, again, not consistent. They just don't have that guy from three-point range. They need one more guy to step up offensively and hit some threes so that teams can't. They're throwing 3 guys at Grant Nelson. They're running 3. At times, there's 3 guys running at him. Because he's been their only option.
So that would lead to somebody to be open.
All of that being said, okay, I looked it up today in preparation not only for this, but I'm going up to practice today. NDSU is the second highest scoring team in the Summit League in conference games behind Oral Roberts.
Highest.
74 points a game. And it doesn't seem like it.
No, not with one guy being able to score.
But Grant Nelson he's He's got 9 double-doubles. He's got 6 double-doubles in a row. I would presume he's going to have a couple more double-doubles after this weekend. He's been pretty good.
Do you think at all he has a chance to win Player of the Year, or is it a slam dunk? It's a slam dunk for Asmus in your mind?
Yep, not even close.
Because what if they lose a game? If Oral Roberts gets tripped
Doesn't matter. Doesn't
really?
Matter. Yep, doesn't matter.
Wow. I don't know if it's a slam dunk.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yep.
So Morgan's stat line, 16 minutes against Kansas City, 2 points. 19 minutes against Oral Roberts, 8 points. He only had 1 foul against Oral Roberts either, so it wasn't a foul thing either.
Yep. Again, there's just some inconsistency there. He just needs to maybe be a little bit more mature, a little bit more consistent, and just provide that second guy. It's tough to match up against a 6'11 guy and a 6'10 guy in the Summit League.
Yeah.
I mean, and so if they could, it's all ifs and nuts and candy and everything else, whatever the cliche is. If you get those 2 guys going, and then you have one guy
that can make a shot,
that can make a 3-pointer just to loosen things up, it's
going
to be awful tough to stop.
With that said, as you mentioned, where they're at scoring-wise, and as to get ready for the final week of the regular season, they are tied for 3rd in the Summit League race.
And if they sweep this week, they'll finish 3rd. And I don't know that it much matters. I mean, it's, Oral Roberts is the number 1. South Dakota State's number 2. You're going to have to get through both of those teams to win the tournament in Sioux Falls anyway. So it's all when you play them, or
it's a matter of when, right? Just delaying the inevitable.
Right, I don't know how much it matters. You always want to finish higher to play the team that finished lower. I mean, you want to take on the team that has to play on Friday night.
Correct.
Right? I mean, you want to play.
Absolutely.
You want to play a team that's played the day before, and
which, if you're South Dakota State, the Bison will have played the day before. If the Jacks are the 2, the Bison will have played Sunday, and you've got them in a home environment.
Yeah,
and then Bison are playing on their second straight day. That's tough there.
Yep. But NDSU made its bed. They to use the cliche, they are what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if you at the end of the non-conference season, when they were 3-11, I think you'd say, you know what? The fact that they're 9-7 and if they play well, will finish 11-7 in the league.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good league. But we've talked about it before. Yeah. The loss to Kansas City at home was bad. The loss at South Dakota, especially with what the Yotes have done since then, they've bad.
Totally went in the tank since then. Yeah,
and then
the Western and St. Thomas.
The Western and St. Thomas losses. One of those again. Yep. If they take one of those 2, if they win those 3 games, they're
in
right
contention for the 2.
The second, they're right there with the Jacks.
That's what.
But they didn't.
Right, and they didn't. And again, going back to a point we've hammered on here as we're going to take a break. Again, nobody has won on the road outside of Oral Roberts in conference play.
No,
it's been a slog right now.
And that's what NDSU's last 2 games are at home. I know that you love St. Thomas. I don't know if you are a donor there or something or what, but you love the Tommies for some reason. And they're fine. They're 9-7. Yeah. They're awful on the road. They're 2-5 in the road
in conference
in conference play.
4-8 overall.
They don't rebound. They're an awful rebounding team. That's one of NDSU's strengths is rebounding. Actually, if the Bison can get past that game on Thursday night, they stand a pretty good chance of winning both games and finishing 3rd in the league.
Why I said I think they're going to win a game at the Summer League tournament. Is that outrageous?
I know what you said.
Why is that outrageous?
It's not outrageous, but okay. I mean,
so I'm in love with them now.
So UND could win a game in 2. I mean,
UND's playing better.
I know.
I mean,
I know. But you don't love UND like you love St. Thomas. I will St. Thomas.
That's true. Oh. Let's take a break. Chat a little bit more here. You got any other weather thoughts you want to get out here? The second half of your
everything
appearance?
Is fine, Dom.
Everything is good.
As you learned before we went on the air, don't ask me questions.
Rip the lid off of it.
Just rip the Band-Aid off, and it was just blah!
We'll be back on Hot Mic right after this. Back here with Mike McFeely as we wrap up our first hour. Email comes in. Northern Iowa has hired a familiar face. Jeremiah Johnson is back with the Panthers as their as assistant coach. He was defensive coordinator at Kent State this past season. Spent 15 years at UNI. Knows Chris Kleiman well. 5 Valley Defensive Player of the Years. 1 Buck Buchanan winner. So he's back at Northern Iowa. And we did not see the Panthers play the Bison last season. The Bison will play UNI at the end of the regular season.
But I think I watched them enough. They played UND. We watched South Dakota State. We watched some of those games. And it's the thing that stood out to me watching the Panthers is over the years with UNI, you could always count on their defense having some dudes.
Yeah.
And it never really showed up against NDSU because NDSU has dominated them for so many years. But that's a whole different, you can't judge them by that, you know? But if you watch the Panthers against other teams for the longest time, they were always good defensively, always had dudes, couple of good defensive linemen, couple of good linebackers,
really
couple of good guys in the back end.
Yeah.
The issue after the Aaron Bailey, David Johnson, that crew was that they could never generate enough offense.
Yep.
And last year, the couple of games I watched of Northern Iowa, the defensive line was just, that's where you just go, wow, they're just getting gashed.
Yeah.
And that never used to happen. Never used to happen. And they just didn't have the dudes up front last year.
Those two
and I don't know that this hire, I saw this was coming a while ago. They had tweeted it out a week or so ago. I don't know that hiring a different defensive coordinator turns things around right away because it's a recruiting issue, not getting the guys up front. But, I mean, this is their calling card. To me, it was always defense.
And those 2 games
Iowa
that you mentioned, the UND game and the South Dakota State game, were games their offense certainly scored enough points to win. They couldn't get a stop in either one of those games, or else they're at worst, you're splitting them. The SDSU game ended in the weird way with the penalty on the field goal that missed late. But if you split either one of those, you're probably a chance of playoffs, which for Northern Iowa is always 6 and 6, 7 and 4.
With Theo Day, they have a quarterback who can throw a little bit.
Yep.
They haven't had a really good running back for a while either. But they've had some decent offensive linemen because they had a first-round draft pick with Trevor Penning a couple of years ago. It's just defensively they've been a little bit short.
Just their non-conference this year at Iowa State would be tough.
Yep.
Home with Weber, that'll be tough.
Yep.
Weber's normally pretty solid. At Idaho State.
Weber's got a new coach.
Right. At Idaho State, that's their non-conference this year. Then they open up with Youngstown. They go to Terre Haute. They go to Brookings. They get UND in Cedar Falls. Obviously, the Bison are coming there. And they go to Moe State as well. So they're missing out on your friends from Murray State. They don't play Murray this year.
Yeah. That'll be a big game for UND because if you look at UND's schedule, it's not difficult. They play all the dregs of the conference, frankly. And so, but they do have Boise State. They have NDSU, of course. They're at South Dakota State. And then they're at Northern Iowa.
Right.
And so if they can somehow win one of those 3, and you'd guess that they would have a best chance of winning either against NDSU at home or at Northern Iowa, I don't think they're going to win in Brookings.
I'll throw another one in. They struggled at in Vermilion, too. They have not won down in Vermilion either.
Yeah,
they've owned USD and Grand Forks.
Yeah.
They haven't won down there.
No, but I mean, yeah.
I'm just saying, perennially, have not won down there yet.
But if you lose all 4 of those games, if you're the Hawks, then you're right back in the position they've been in the last forever, which is they are just right in the borderline of the playoffs.
So their home games this year for UND, it's Northern Arizona, Western Illinois, the Bison, Indiana State, and Illinois State are their 5 home games this year.
Right. If they can, NDSU's got some issues, obviously, and so, maybe this is the year, but if it's not, then they're going to have to.
Got to be 4-1.
They got to sneak out, a couple other wins somewhere to get to 7-4, which is, and then they can make a bid and go on the road to,
I'm sorry, they had Drake as well at home, so they can get that one.
Yeah, that's a win. Yep.
So their road.
They have 6 home games this year, which is odd for UND.
First time that's happened, I think in D1. I don't know if they've done that.
They've always had to take the road games for the money
because their first 2 road trips, Mike, are in Boise and Brookings.
Yeah,
that ain't going to be good.
I don't think
they're
going to win either of those. But
then they have games in Northern Iowa, at Murray State, and at USD. Those are their 3 other.
So again, the point with the Northern Iowa game is that if that's one that they can give themselves a cushion, I think, if they win that one. But if they lose that, then presumably they would be, right in that 7-4 borderline, and then they can't lose another game. As long as that's the issue with UND right now. If you look at it, is they're good, they're solid, but they're just, if you play NDSU every year, and you play SDSU most years, and you have an FBS game,
right?
And they've been scheduling some good FBS games against good opponents. Maybe not good for their record, but good for them.
Opponents, right?
I mean, that's yet 3 losses almost every year right there. And so then your margin for error is almost zero the rest of the way.
Yep. You saw the story yesterday about the potential vote that'll happen on changing the clock in college football. What do you mean? Is this down the same road of what we talked about with the baseball rules, or is there some merit to this to you on college football?
To me, I just don't. I'm not sure that what they're saying is why they're doing it. Is the issue really player safety, or is it really the time of games, the length of games? And as I tweeted out yesterday, and I know you appreciate this being a TV guy that you are, there's a really simple solution to shortening the time, the length of games. And it has nothing to do with keeping the clock running on incomplete passes. It has to do with the 4-minute breaks.
Yes.
Easy. 4-minute breaks. That FBS games and NDSU, the semifinals, the Incarnate Word game had 4-minute breaks.
I remember you looking at me in the first TV timeout like,
Right. And so if you're college football and you're going to whore yourself out to TV money, which is what they've done, then they can't say, you know what, ESPN, you're only going to have 2-minute breaks. No, you're not, because we have to make money off this deal because we just paid you X billions of dollars for the rights to these games, and so we're going to have whatever breaks we want.
It's on you to make the game go faster.
It's on you to make the game go faster, and so then they come up with these, let's keep the clock running because it's player safety.
But you and I have talked about this. Like, big boy football takes forever. There was a 3.5.
So does FCS football.
FCS doesn't take that long.
It takes a long time. Bison games take a long time. They are long games.
In the regular season, you'd say that?
I think so, yes. There's no reason a college football game should take more than 2.5 hours, but it does because of you.
It's my fault.
Yes.
Yes, it is my fault.
Go to a Dragons game sometime.
I have. I've got plenty of them.
You're in and out of there. You're at Mick's office in 2.5 hours, eating a hamburger and a cold beer.
That's the most important thing of it. Yeah, I hear you. Well, there, I got you fired up. I got you fired up before we left.
I'm not ranting today. I'm not ranting. There's no ranting here. There's no good video clips today for Twitter.
Those
Eric?
are trending up there.
Those
are blowing up online.
People are emailing me going, what is your problem?
Thanks for coming by, man. Good to see you.
Yes.
Mike McFeely joining us each and every Tuesday at 9:35 here on Hot Mike. We'll take a break. We'll start hour 2 on this Tuesday morning. We'll be back right after this on WDAY Extra and InForum.com.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
He's on the all-tape team day 3 version. Yeah, Bill and I, we were just talking about it. We love this player. Man, this guy makes plays.
Emanuel was in that backfield.
Kick is up and it's blocked. That's a live ball scooped up by North Dakota State. Kyle Emanuel takes it all the way down to the 5-yard line.
I remember I was getting recruited. Coach Bull told me, if you come here, I think you'll win a national championship. He never said anything about 4.
Always good to see our guy Kyle Emanuel here in studio on a Tuesday. We got golf chatter for you. I made sure we got some golf chat to come up before you say goodbye. Did you see the Sports Illustrated story on the potential changing of the college football clock?
I did.
Okay,
I saw a couple of them. I can't say I studied it too extensively, but I saw a couple.
So here are the 4. It's prohibiting consecutive timeouts. It's basically icing the kicker. That one.
I don't see how that would make a difference, to be honest.
I'm all right with that. If you want to do that, though, go for it.
Fine.
No untimed downs at the end of the first and the third quarter. I'm all right with that.
If there's a penalty.
Right.
Yeah.
Only would do it at the end of the second quarter and the end of the game.
Yes, that's fine.
Here's the biggie. Clock runs after first downs except inside of 2 minutes and a half. Now, as a defensive player, I'm interested what you think about that one. Because obviously the clock stops every time in college when you get a first down in college now that the clock stops.
Sure. Well, yeah, in college football. So, I mean, that's kind of the difference between the two in the NFL, because the NFL clock doesn't stop, but they have the 2-minute warning, which kind of adds a second timeout or a 4th timeout for teams. That would be a huge change.
Yep.
It really would. That that changes how you approach both defense and offensively when you get down to the 2-minute 2-minute drills. And I guess it would stop under 2 minutes, but still, just even like you start to get under 5 minutes and you're down, like the clock's going to stop every time. It changes a lot of things.
Here's the one that's got everybody up in arms. Clock runs on incompletions once the ball is spotted.
Yeah, that's the one I remember seeing.
What do you think of that one?
Again, all of these just come back. It's like, I guess, I don't know. I like the length of college football. I don't mind it. I mean, I guess it is getting a little bit long maybe, but.
Average game for FBS was 3 hours and 22 minutes this past year.
Doesn't seem that bad to me.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, I know it's longer than most sports, but.
Well, when you look at the NFL, as you well know, is pretty tight. It's rare that a game goes beyond 3 hours in the NFL because they've got that down to a science. Where college football, to me, it still seems like it takes forever for some games.
To me, what's the halftime look like? Because to me, I feel like in the NFL, it felt like we got in, you do one thing, and the coach came in, and it was boom, you're right back out the door.
10-minute halftime, 12-minute half. It might be a 12-minute.
I honestly don't know. I think you're right, 10 to 12.
College football's 20.
It felt like nothing. Yeah. So why not shorten that?
I would go right there.
You could knock 5 minutes off right there, easy. If it's really that, someone I was looking at Twitter and someone mentioned if this is really such a big issue, why not just shorten the quarters? And I was like, well, that's another way to go about it. And I don't know, are they going to implement all 4 of these? Or are they voting on each one individually?
Individually, they're going to vote. So 13 minutes is NFL halftime.
And it feels.
I was going to say to feel like light speed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, by the time I'm assuming that clock starts like as soon as the second quarter stops, and It was pretty much go in and I think the coaches made adjustments and then they came out and just kind of spitballed it to us real quick for like a minute or two. Get with your position coach and you're gone. So it went fast.
I'm with you there. That's a good point. College halftime is 20 minutes. I'd be all up for grabs there of shortening that if you wanted to make it shorter.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. There's none of these rule. Obviously, you could get rid of the first down one. I could see that. That's what they do at the NFL.
Yep.
The whole some of those other ones though, I don't know. It just feels like I don't think some of them, like you said, some of them would be a huge deal. Like if you can't call consecutive timeouts, okay, whatever. But like you said, the NFL has it tidied up to kind of a science, and they get done pretty quickly.
You know what actually takes too long to me is also the replays in college. That takes forever. The NFL one, for the most part, pretty efficient on when the challenge goes. College replays and looking at that, those take forever. We saw that here at NDSU this year.
There should be, and I think the NFL has this. I forget exactly the term they use it, but like there should be like a common sense replay, right?
Yeah,
where it's so obvious.
I know what you're talking about. I've heard it as well. Yep.
Hey, yes, that call is confirmed, or no, we got to overturn this. It was obviously missed. We don't need to go under the hood. We don't need to take another TV. Let's just get this thing right, because everyone in the country that is watching this game right now knows that the call was either correct or incorrect, and we can just move on. So, and I don't think college football has that currently, and that's another thing. You can shave off seconds in other ways as well. So, to be honest, like I said, I saw the article. I didn't read much into it yesterday. I haven't really formulated my official thoughts on what I think about it. But if time is really, your biggest factor that you want to, you're trying to get rid of, or you're trying to shorten games, it feels like there's other ways you could go about doing it without making these kind of drastic rule changes.
It's replay assistant is what it's called. That's what's the new part that what the NFL has. In lieu of that, because the XFL started this weekend, and they had a couple of, and I watched just a tiny bit, but when you can challenge anything, which is part of the new rules there, which I like that.
I like that.
But also they gave you an in-depth look in the booth of what they were looking at. You could hear all the conversation as well, which, again, I think for viewers, that is really appreciated to figure out, especially like for us, sometimes we don't find out till maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds after the fact that, bam, right away what they're looking at and what they're talking about.
Yeah, I love, and it's funny because the XFL did a lot of this back when they first came out. A lot of things that they changed or they implemented, including like some camera angles, I believe, from the TV side, like, the NFL took over, and now I think you're going to probably see another thing. And I know the kickoff rule was
that was
another
when we
one.
just saw we'll play that back again. Was the kickoff? They also have a 3-point conversion.
3-point play, yeah, I saw that.
I didn't mind that. That would happen here in the St. Louis San Antonio game that added for a team to make a comeback because they were able to go for 3 instead of 2. I mean, some of them are kind of gimmicky that I don't know if they'll catch on. But to your point, I think some of them are really inventive to say, all right, well, this might be something that I'm sure the NFL would look at and say, yeah, we might take that one.
I'm sure they will. I don't want to say a guarantee, but they're going to at least look at it. And some of these things, the 3-point thing, probably not.
Probably not.
There's going to be some football purists. We talk about baseball purists. There's going to be some football people that aren't going to like that. But there's certain things. I don't know if the kickoff rule, again, I kind of like it. And I'm sure, I don't know exact intricacies of the rule. If they want to have an onside kick, maybe then they can. So it would eliminate the surprise onside kick, which I know some people like. But in terms of safety, in terms of still being able to have that exciting play without completely eliminating it, I kind of like it. And I like what the XFL does, because if they're just football, if they're just normal football, most people are probably going to watch. They're not going to tune in. They're not going to trend on Twitter.
No.
They're not, nothing's going to happen. But they come up with some of these new rules, and it created a buzz around XFL. I still didn't watch, but at least now, look, you and I are talking about it, right?
So here's the kickoff. So this is what it is. The kicking team will line up at the opponent's 35-yard line, while the returning team will line up at the 30-yard line. The kickoff rule made safer by design, as collisions between blockers and potential tacklers will not be as large. Additionally, the ball must clear the 20-yard line in the air for the kick to be considered legal. If it doesn't, the receiving team gets the kick 15 yards from the kickoff spot. I like that one. That one I could see get some traction, right?
My first initial thought when I saw that was this rule would have saved me 2 to 3 concussions. Just honestly, wow. I think I got 2 or 3 on kickoff. I think one was on punt, and that was my initial reaction. Now, again, I know there's people that the fans all have to be considered in this, and I don't know what they do for onside kick. I don't know about that.
I can you finish your point, then I'll read it.
That was my initial reaction.
Yeah.
Was if safety is truly, the number one issue in the NFL, XFL, obviously they're taking it seriously. Like this, you could just tell right off the bat, like the collisions are not as big between the blockers and the guys running down on the kickoff. If you're running for 5 yards, now the NFL tried doing this when they had, you can only be 1 yard from. And I was like, okay, but I still have 40 yards before I'm about to encounter someone trying to block me. I never understood that rule. Like, how is that making anything safer? This one, in terms of safety, I don't care. You might like it, you might not, but in terms of safety, you have to at least appreciate what they're trying to do.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. That's really good. Here's the onside kick rule. XFL teams will still have the opportunity to attempt an onside kick if they so desire. However, they will be able to eschew that option and attempt a 4th and 15 conversion in the fourth quarter if they're more comfortable trying to get the ball in that matter. While the 4th and 15 conversion is only available in the fourth quarter, onside kicks may be attempted at any point during the contest. So I kind of like that.
Yeah. I would take a 4th and 15 personally if I was.
There are more offenses. You have a better chance of getting a 4th and 15, right?
What was the onside kick rate recovery in the NFL? I think it was less than 10%, maybe 5%. So I know 4th and 15 is not great either, but I'll take that. I'll take, especially if you Patrick Mahomes, you got someone like that.
Right. That's what I'm saying with the offenses nowadays. I mean, come on. I mean that.
Now you can dial up some. I mean, that can be part of your game plan. We got some. Normally, you're not dialing up too many 4th and 15 calls in practice or things like that. Like, it's just not something you are prepared for. You have some plays that could work, but now you know what's going to happen. Who knows what offensive coordinators could come up with?
I'd sign up for that one for the NFL in a heartbeat if they were to. If you're going to start pilfering from them, but you make a great point. You still didn't watch, and that's the thing where they got to fight that, because once the Super Bowl is done, I think there's just I need a break. We've been going since Labor Day every Sunday. That, you know what? Because then I saw a commercial. So, well, there's going to be football every week now for the next 20 Sundays or weekends between the XFL and the USFL, which I'm sure that's great for some, but others, and I think I'm in that boat. I just all right, I need a little bit of break. There are other sports I want to enjoy before I'm going to dive back into this now. And I love football.
I love football too, but I grew up in a small town. I played multiple sports. I was a fan of multiple sports. I was used to going season to season.
Right.
Okay, once football season's over, now I go on to
that's what they're
basketball.
Fighting. Right.
And I'm sure there are some people out there that they just want football every single day. They don't care who it is. They just want to watch it. But I think the majority of fans are probably with you and me. Like for me right now, and I probably told you this last week, it's turning into golf season for me. I'm excited for March Madness. Don't get me wrong, but I know you said we were going to talk about it, but Tiger played last week. I'm excited. I'm moving on. I'm watching golf now, and I'm going to watch March Madness. I got enough football from August to February. it's time for me to move on to a different sport until August comes around.
And it's already the fact the NFL is ready to hammer us. Like today is franchise tag day, so it's a big
There's
one
always
there.
something
There's
there.
always something there that's going to automatically grab football fans' attention, whether it's that, another mock. We're not that far away from the combine, which is a big deal. Then it's free agency. Then it's the draft. Right. Then it's the draft. And then we're locked into that. So, I mean,
if you really want football, there's always storylines.
There's plenty right there. There's plenty there. Let's take a break. We'll give Kyle some golf chatter here. We'll see how his guy played this weekend. And we'll chat some other stuff as well as we roll out on a Tuesday morning on Hot Mike. We're back after this on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. Welcome back, everybody. Got an email in from Bismarck Mandan Way on the Region 5 girls basketball tournament. The semifinal games scheduled for today have been moved up. They'll be played at 4 and at 5:30 today. So they're hoping by moving the game times up, we can get the games played and everyone back home safely. That's coming from Mark Wiest, our friend, the AD out in Mandan, who's hosting the event. So another change there. That's in Region 5. The game's still happening, but now moved up to late afternoon starts. They're 4 and 5:30 for those games being played today, which is Shiloh Christian against Washburn, and then Garrison and Central McLean are the games going on late this afternoon. Back with Kyle Emanuel here in studio as we were chatting on the different potential college football rules that will go down. They're always tinkering with something. It's interesting, though, because maybe it's just me. I watch some of those games, especially like a Big 12 game that is 48-45, like a Baylor. I'll pick on Baylor and TCU. That's a great game, but it also takes nearly 3 hours and 45 minutes to play said game. You know, we get a bunch of complaints that we're interrupting the game because when we come on the air with our broadcast, well, that wouldn't happen if the game could get done in a 3 hour window.
And maybe that's why I don't think there's as big of an issue because I'm used to, hey, it's NDSU. We're run the ball 45 times a game. Like the game's fine. It goes quick enough, you know. But I suppose if you're one of those air raid teams, or those up-tempo teams, you're throwing the ball
everybody
75 times a game, and you think about how many incompletions there are. But like we were talking about, I don't know if the rule change of if the clock runs after an incompletion once the ball is set, I think that changes a lot. I think you could implement the other three fairly easily. I think that's the one that would be tough.
I got a hard time on that one. I think the other three, I agree with you. I've got a good chance to pass. That last one, though, seems odd. All right, I've built up enough. Genesis Invitational this weekend. We were watching our guy, Tom Hoagie, who had a top 15 finish out there. Tiger Woods did play, which I know you were riveted to that over the last 4 days.
I was.
Give me your now. How did he play? What did you think?
You know, I was watching, and I think the first 2 days I missed like 4 shots. You know, I was watching while I was driving. Sorry, I know that's illegal, but like I wasn't going very far. His round Saturday is the one that everyone's going to point to. Right? He was
67, right?
He was bogey free, 5 under until I think the second to last hole, and then he finally got his first bogey of the day. At one point, he had like the second best round going throughout the entire day for the whole field. So that's the round that people are going to point to, be like, okay, he can still do it. Now, to me, I thought honestly, like given everything that he's gone through in the giant layoff, like. I always get my expectations up too high. Of course, I was like, he can finish top 5.
And then he had this kind of shot, like on 13 on Sunday.
Exactly.
He drills that.
He does things like that, and he made like a 28-footer for a birdie. I mean, he does some things where your expectations are gonna go flying sky high. To me, it's there's so much that has to go right in golf, right, to win a tournament. Like you got 4 straight days, you have to play really well. You have to hope other people aren't playing at their best. And then for Tiger, he has to add on top, okay, is my body going to hold up? Can I play really, really well for 4 straight days and not have something go wrong with my body, not have something go wrong on the putting green? I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. So all in all, I'm happy the way he played. I think, he made the cut, and then he did something on Saturday. He did some things on moving day to make it exciting. I'm still... If you ask me, like, will he win again? I think he has a chance. I don't know if he'll win another major again, but it's going to be tough. It really is. But we said the same thing last time, and then he won the 2019 Masters. So.
69, 74, 67, 73. That round Saturday caught my attention. Like, whoa.
Everyone's.
All right. So And that's a course he loves. Riviera is one that is right in his old backyard.
But funny enough, it's one he's never
won. No,
I think it's either the first or second in terms of the amount of starts he has
right.
without a win, and it just doesn't happen for Tiger.
Do we see him again before Augusta? Do you think?
Augusta's April.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. They asked him that after the round,
right.
and he basically just gave his answer of I'm going to play the majors. That's my goal. So no one thought he was going to play the Genesis.
Right, that was kind of surprising. Bay Hill maybe in a couple of weeks because that's Arnold Palmer's tournament.
Yeah, I could see him playing that. Yeah. I would love to see him play the Players Championship.
Right, Players comes
which is
up after
considered
that.
the 5th major. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And no one does, but no one knows but him, obviously. And it's just his body is literally pieced back together. And honestly, it's just fun to see him play. It is, and the competitor to me, and I know the competitor in him wants him to play well and to win and to compete and be at the top, but to see one of the greatest to do it, it's just I was telling my wife when she's like, "Why are you watching golf again?" I was like, "Look, this is like the greatest to ever do it. We never know. We never know
right.
when he's gonna stop." And after that last car accident, I thought, okay, I've seen Tiger play for the last time, and so just to have him back is awesome.
The John Rahm won, by the way, for the 3rd time already. I mean, we're talking elite level right now. I mean, Scheffler was off in his own world when he won the Masters last year. Rahm is in another kind of similar stratosphere right now, what he's done already.
He is, yeah. I was just looking at some numbers from his last, I think it's his last 7 starts.
Yeah.
He's like 82 under or something like that. He's only lost to like 8 guys, because every single tournament, I think his worst finish is like, tied for 9th or something. He's on a historic run. And I think everyone knew that. He was kind of the mental side for him. I think was part of it, and I can understand that, getting angry on the golf course myself at times. But he was one of those guys that wore his emotions on his sleeves, and when things weren't going well, I think he let it get to him. And again, understandably, I get it, but it seems like he's kind of got that under control a little bit. And when there's people that say when he's at his best, there's no one that can beat him right now, which is a big statement, especially when Rory McIlroy is playing really well, Scottie Scheffler's playing really well, Max Homa's playing really well. Hey, Tom Hoagie's playing. I mean, there's a lot of guys on the tour right now that are playing really good golf, but John Rahm's the one where
just another stratosphere, man.
If he's playing at his best, it's tough to beat him.
As I mentioned with you, it's NFL franchise tag day. As I just saw, there's guys out there. The ones that are interesting is obviously Lamar Jackson
for sure
with Baltimore, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley with the Giants. If they do that, I'm trying to think of other headline guys. I'm scrolling. Tony Pollard with the Cowboys might be an interesting one. But honestly, it's all about Lamar Jackson, really, what the Ravens are going to do there, because they haven't had any conversation about a contract before last season started.
I know, and Lamar's his own agent, and,
right.
and there's been reports that they're like an astronomical number apart from each other in terms of what they want. The thing that's interesting about Lamar is if you can't work things out with the Ravens, like, and I know this sounds kind of crazy, but like, is there another team that's going to give him that guaranteed contract? Because there's talks around, national media that owners don't want to set a precedent that you get guaranteed contracts. That they want to say the Deshaun Watson deal,
Watson
it's an anomaly.
Yeah, right.
Let's set that one over here on the side. Like that was the Browns being dumb. They were desperate. They had to do everything they could to get him. So that one doesn't count.
Great point.
But if Lamar now goes, and it doesn't have to be from the Ravens, it could be from a different team. If someone else gives him that guaranteed money, now you've started to set a precedent. Now it's a trend.
Yeah.
Now the next guy is going to be like, okay, well, those two did it. I'm better than them or whatever, and I want that guaranteed money too. So that's the part to me. If it doesn't work out with the Ravens, is there another team that's going to do it? And if they do, are they going to make everyone else around the league mad again?
I look at Jalen Hurts. I would put Jalen Hurts right now. I would say he's above Lamar. I know Lamar's won an MVP. I would put Jalen Hurts in that category from what I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, he was fantastic, and he's younger. He's trending, and he's been healthy. He's trending in that way. Last thing before we go, talking to quarterbacks, because the Bears have the pick at 1, and the talk now is potentially them trading Justin Fields and then taking Bryce Young from Alabama at 1, which is crazy. I know, because as a franchise, the Jets have done this. We've drafted 2 quarterbacks in the last 3 years, and neither one have worked out. But Fields, I'm not giving up on him yet. Right? Or am I outdated thinking on that?
It's funny because I felt like the mindset around the league at the end of the year was like Justin Fields is a home run. His legs, his athleticism. Like, why didn't they use him this way in Ohio State? Like, he's an unbelievable athlete. Like, we're seeing, like, he's just going to get better throwing the ball. And I felt like everyone was like all in on the Bears. Like, oh man, now they got their quarterback. They have a decent roster. They got the number 1 pick. Now all of a sudden people are talking about trading him. I don't hate it. I could see it. I mean,
you get a boatload.
If you think you need a lot more than just a quarterback, but like you said, I mean, a guy that I don't know. I'm less of a risk taker. If I were the GM, I probably wouldn't do it. I would want to see what I got in Justin Fields now. But if you can get I think I heard someone say like the number 8 pick. I forget who has it, but it's a quarterback needy team. If you
half
can go
the teams
get the
need
number
a quarterback
8,
right now.
exactly. So if you could get a ton for it, like I can understand flirting with the idea, but it does seem a little interesting based on what we're hearing about Justin Fields and how everyone loved him, towards the end of that season.
But to your point, to wrap it up here, teams now are more willing to eat salary and say it didn't work.
Yeah,
I think we've seen that at quarterback than we have in the last 10 to 15 years. So you know what? Right. The Jets are ready to do it with Zach. We spent the number 2 pick on him and are ready to cut ties. We're going to move on.
Yeah,
it's amazing to me now.
Part of me understands it. Why double down on a mistake? If you feel like you made a mistake, if you missed, then quit trying to make it work. But then there's the other side of me that's like, these are young kids. Zach Wilson's a young kid in New York, and that ruthless media and
he's gonna go star somewhere else.
Yeah, he's
guaranteed.
He's gonna go move to a smaller market and win a Super Bowl, and it's gonna ruin you down.
Well, I look like Geno Smith's a great example. Look what Geno did and had a great year in Seattle, and he's due to get paid. I played with
Geno. He was our backup. I think was it just 1 year in L.A.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I was like, he's a solid quarterback, but like it was different, obviously, between him and Phillip Rivers. And it was awesome to see for him to kind of have this
the kind of
long
year he had.
stretch and then have a great year. So
thanks for coming by, man. Great to see you as always.
Absolutely.
We'll make sure we get some golf chatter in here as we move to the warmer months. Kyle Emanuel joining us each and every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We'll take a break. Hot Mic rolls on a busy Tuesday. We're back after this on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. Welcome back, everybody, on a Tuesday morning. Hot Mic rolls on, WDAY Extra, InForum.com. Everything as of now, and we're going to use that term again. We used that a couple years ago for COVID. As of now, things that have been scheduled are still on. We know we're making some changes in Region 1. There'll be one quarterfinal game today that couldn't be played, the Tri-State Kindred game, and then one Region semifinal game they played, and they'll play another one tomorrow. We already heard Region 5 has moved around their schedule. As far as we know, Region 8 is still on schedule, which is where we're heading next as we welcome back to our show the girls basketball coach at Kenmare-Bowbells. Mike Zimmer is good enough to give us a few minutes. The Honkers have had another dynamite year trying to head back to state for a 3rd straight season. Great to see you. Everything is about the weather. So what are you hearing out there? And are you guys still on course to play?
Yeah, it's beautiful right now. The wind's very minimal. It's not snowing at all. I think most of it's supposed to be south of the lake. So I'm hoping we can play today.
And your tournament being played at Williston State. So you've got a couple-hour trip, correct, from Kenmare there?
Yeah, yesterday was a little hairy when we were going north and south. The wind was blowing from the north and it iced over the roads. But we got an old farmer driving the bus, so he knows how to deal with that stuff.
Well, congrats on another great year. I know what you had back, but it's another thing to have expectations, another thing to play really well. Tell me about this year and having the kind of season you guys have had so far.
Oh, yeah, we started off really well and felt like we were clicking along great. And then, then Kate got hurt and we missed a couple games there and kind of lost our fire, got a little emotionally distressed about it, and then everybody kind of regrouped and we've played pretty well since then. I think we've been playing better. Every game we seem to play a little bit better now and we're getting more comfortable.
You got Newtown coming up tonight in the semifinal. You beat Trenton last night. You have such an experienced team that's been through this before. I mean, like for even yesterday, do you need to say a whole lot knowing it's win or you're done?
Oh, I hyped up our opponents as much as possible. I mean, we've had some really good battles with Trenton, so it wasn't too easy to recall that. I mean, like you said, they've been around for a while, so Brenna, Kate, Maddie, Ava, they remember losing to those guys in the past. So it was pretty easy to hype that game up and get ready for it.
To have this kind of team and the experience, how much have you savored this year, especially with your daughter again on the team, to have this kind of run? How much have you enjoyed this season personally?
Oh, they're the reason I started coaching is because they've just been so eager to play. They've always wanted to go to the gym and they've always wanted to work on their games, and they've been a joy, and they love each other, and they like to spend time with each other. And I just kind of funneled that into let's spend time in the gym. So it's been a great experience.
We've only lost 2 games all season, so I apologize for harping on this, but one of them was a buzzer beater, a little half-court shot that you lost to Stanley. You've been around the game a long time. What do you even say after a game like that?
Yeah, it was right after we had found out that Kate tore her ACL again, so we were emotionally kind of distraught a little bit, and it was just one of those deals. They played well, and we're kind of arch rivals with those guys. And, Ava Schuster and Clancy, they came ready to play. And you know how that is sometimes. Like, I was sitting on the bench right behind Clancy when she shot it. And as soon as she let it go, and I'm like, oh, no, that's in. And banked it right in. And, I mean, it'll be fun to talk about 20 years from now. And when I see those girls around, they always rub it in on me. So it was an exciting game. It is what it is.
You mentioned Kate's injury again. Describe that, especially as not only coach, but as a dad, as a parent, how difficult that was to hear that she had hurt her ACL again.
No, it was about like death in the family. It was just, we've worked so hard for so many years on it, and it was emotionally very difficult, and, challenged everything. I've challenged my faith and everything. I was just so upset about it, but she's taught me a lot. She's still trusts in God, and she knows it's on this path is going to lead to something good. And I've kind of followed her footsteps here and just come to accept it. And we're pretty happy about that, that we can tape it up and play a little bit, and just having her available is good for everybody. It's especially for her dad here.
So is it, she can't hurt it obviously any worse, right? Now it's just a pain threshold. Is that basically what?
Well, the doctor said, that she could hurt the other tendons, okay, or the meniscus. He kind of advised against it, but we're just going to try to get a little bit out of her if we can.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I was thinking she's kind of like Kirk Gibson sitting in the Dodgers dugout, and maybe she can come in the bottom of the ninth and hit a home run. So I don't know. And just, having her play with Brenna and Maddie and Ava is just having those 4 together is it's just fun.
How much has her attitude helped you, Mike, through this too?
Yeah, I mean, she's chipper, and it saved me, actually. I was very upset about it. And she comes to practice and talks it up with her friends, and I start to realize that basketball for them especially is they just enjoy spending time with each other, and basketball's kind of the side thing of that. And so it just helped me relax and just try to sit back and enjoy it.
To get to this point, when the nerves are already here for you as a coach, you've been here, done this before, but you win tonight, you get to the spot where you really want to get to, which is a game away from state. So are the nerves going tonight, or is it if you win, then they really crank on Thursday?
I don't know if we get so nervous. I guess it's, we've been here before, and we realize that we have to play well. And, Newtown is playing better. And then if we end up playing Tioga, which I think we probably will, we'll have to beat them the 3rd time in a month. So, there's just stuff to plan for. I try to not worry about the nerves. I just try to plan ahead. And I got a little note in my office says plan for everything. And, we're seeing a lot of different junk defenses. And so we're trying to get ready for all that stuff. And we got this week and next week. If we win this week, we get to play next week. And if we're at the end of next week, we're done. So it's just try to sit back and enjoy it.
I'd love to get your thoughts here. Obviously, this is the last go around as we know it for Class B girls basketball. Tell me how you've followed this, knowing how it's going to change? How much is it going to change for your team next season when 3 classes now becomes a reality?
I think it's going to be kind of interesting. We only lose 2 teams out of our region, Newtown and Stanley. And then we're going to pair up with the Minot region next year in the regional. And I think it's going to be kind of interesting. It probably make it a little, it'll make it easier to get to state, I think, because you'll have a chance. If you're third place, you'll still have a chance to go. And yeah, I think it's going to be kind of fun. It'll be the region tournament's going to be really exciting, and that play-in game stuff is going to be super exciting. And I know some guys don't like that; they'd rather have an in-region challenge. But sometimes you end up with one of the regions might have a lot stronger teams, and we want to try to get the best 8 teams to the tournament, and I think this will help us do that.
Around the area, Mike, what's been the feedback you've heard from people that just love watching the girls Class B, watching your team at the girls Class B? Has there been a different kind of reaction to what you've heard about 3 classes?
Not really. For us, it's not going to change a whole lot. We're still going to have to beat the same teams, and I don't think it's going to really water down the excitement. I think there'll be some teams that'll make it that first year that haven't been there for a very long time, and that'll be very exciting for them. The harder part is for us is, if you get or like Langdon, for example, they go there every single year, so it's kind of hard to keep the excitement in town up. They give you a bus trip or sirens and police cars the first time, and by the third time they're just going again. So,
well, let me ask you
that's kind of the difference.
Well, let me ask you, because if you win on Thursday, it's going to be 3 years in a row. Is it still going to be as exciting on Thursday night if you guys win?
It'll be exciting, but it'll be different. The first year was super exciting.
Right.
Everybody we hadn't been there for 10 years, and now it's kind of turning into a habit, and I like that. I mean, that's always the goal here, is to play the last day of the season at the state tournament, and we're hoping to do that again.
Now, do you expect you still get the treatment out of town, the pep rally, all that? Will you still get that next week if you guys win on Thursday?
Yeah, it just won't be as many people. It'll just be the parents.
See, that's what you've built now. You've built expectations now. I expect they're going to be there.
Yeah, we have high expectations, and I'm looking forward to this year is really special for me with this group. But we've got some really good players coming up. We got some good sophomores and freshmen, and we have a good junior high kids that we can be good for a long time.
Well, let me leave you with that. Just that now that you've built a program where now it's not just when this class leaves you're going to tail off. You've got something you think you guys can be really good. Describe the pride in that this group has built now a tradition of success at Kenmare High.
Yeah, they have. I mean, when they came into when they moved up as 7th graders and started playing C squad and JV, it just changed the whole mentality of the program. They were, Brenna and Kate and Maddie and Ava have just been very competitive, and practice just got a lot more competitive, and everybody was fighting for spots, and the team unity got much better. They've just set the tone, and the younger girls are following in their footsteps now. So, I give them the credit. I mean, they're the ones that they have to deal with me, and they kind of overcome my faults, and it's been fun. It's been fun. They've done a fantastic job.
It's great to see you, man. Thanks so much for catching up. Good luck tonight, and good luck if you guys are able to advance on, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
All right, thank you.
Good to see you, bud. Mike Zimmer, head coach of the Kenmare-Bowbells girls. They match up tonight with Newtown in the Region 8 semifinals going on in Williston. They have been one of the top programs in girls Class B basketball, trying to make it for a 3rd straight year. This is the bracket for the games being played out in Williston. As you heard Mike say, they are on time and everything for weather on that side of the state, which is good to hear, which is the opposite of what's going on the eastern side. But good dude, and they've been really good. And you heard him say that's now almost expected for them to make it to the girls Class B, which will be almost a moderate home game for them if they're able to make it, with the tournament being in Minot next week. We will take our final break. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for a busy Sports Tuesday. We'll update you on what we can on some weather announcements as well. And we'll do all that before we say so long here on Hot Mike on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. up our show here for a Tuesday morning. Tomorrow, Dave Richmond will join us, North Dakota State men's basketball coach. May have some info by then about what the playing schedule is for the Bison. I expect maybe we'll have some info on that. Feel free to check out our news, as you do every day, at 6 and 10 for sports, and we'll update you on that. We'll have highlights from Region 1 tonight, Region 2 as well, as the weather allows. The Spud boys hockey team begins the section tournament tonight at home. Again, the top seed in 8AA. We'll update you on that as well coming up tonight. Speaking of Spud hockey, I cannot strongly encourage enough. From the Star Tribune, did a story today. Headline: Problem for Gentry Academy. Rival schools refusing to schedule its hockey team. For those that aren't familiar with who Gentry Academy is, opened up a few years ago. Private school in Vadnais Heights. And on the outside, I think there are many, many people that believe it is just a glorified hockey academy. And there may be some truth to that. That's who the Spuds will play tomorrow night. Gentry Academy students are permitted to play hockey about 1 hour per day at the nearby TCO Sports Garden as a physical education option. Coaches are not convinced that that is it. The head coach of the Stillwater girls, Annie Cashman, says their kids are skating when mine are in calculus. They are not trying to conform to the values of the Minnesota State High School League. They want to be different and have everyone conform to them. Fine, then go be different and compete in Tier 1 like Shattuck St. Mary's. And I think there's something to that. Gentry has arrived on the scene and been an immediate player in Minnesota State High School League. East Grand Forks boys lost to them either last year or the year before. I know I've spoken with Tyler Palmasino about that, the head coach of the EGF boys. I think he has his thoughts on them. You'll see this. This is going to be an awfully hard game for the Spud girls to win. And you could say that about any of the opponents that they would match up with. This one is different because there's a stigma with this that you can just hear it. With me reading that quote, it comes through the television screen, I think, to everybody at home. I never want to punish kids for the adults' decisions, and it's great to give more kids opportunities. But the only way to stop these super teams is to stop scheduling them. And that's an interesting way of going about it. Andover's Melissa Volk has played Gentry Academy for the past 2 regular seasons. She isn't so sure those games will continue, but not because of philosophical differences. Volk wants to play quality opponents, and Gentry Academy will lose 84% of its goal scoring in both goalies to graduation this spring. The head coach said the staff were surprised by the Stars' number 4 seed for this week's Class 2A state tournament, which was decided by coaches in the electronic voting process. They were 24-2-0 and beat Andover during the season and Hill Murray during the playoffs. Gentry Academy opens play at 8 o'clock Thursday against the number 5 seed in Moorhead. I think they were punished there because people don't like them. And now the Spuds have to run full tilt on that coming up Thursday night. Again, an update on that. Moorhead is leaving today to get down to St. Paul for the state hockey tournament. No changes in the schedule for state girls hockey and gymnastics in Minnesota. North Dakota, there have been some adjustments for the region tournaments because of the weather. Region 5 playing in the late afternoon. Region 1 happening with one more quarterfinal tonight and a semifinal, and then one more semifinal coming tomorrow. Any other weather updates, we'll, of course, pass it along. InForum.com will be your home for all of that over the next day. Let's get you ready for what to watch before we get out of here. Real quick, Minnesota Wild back on the ice tonight. They take on the LA Kings, wrapping up their 7-game homestand, 7 o'clock on Bally Sports North. Really good Champions League game today. Liverpool and Real Madrid. Got to have Paramount Plus to watch at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And a good college hoops game tonight. Baylor taking on Kansas State on ESPN2. Thanks to our guests today, to Mike McFeely, Kyle Emanuel, and Mike Zimmer. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at InForum.com. Stay safe out there, everybody. The weather's about to crank up again. We'll do it all over here tomorrow. We'll see you then on Hot Mike on WDAY Extra at InForum.com.